can't lose. No, we can't lose.
Enjoy it while it lasts. Gambling gods, fickle bunch.
Oh, yeah.
So easily
We
affected.
have a shooter and a good one coming out for a new point. Get your bets down, ladies and gentlemen. He's a rolling point is 9, place 9. 9 a winner. Got a hot hand. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen.
They bet on absolutely anything. Don't make them prove.
So I'm gonna let you in a secret that I didn't publish in the book. I was hoping people would figure out, but apparently no one has asked me about it. The strongest value of the answer key isn't betting the derivatives, it's measuring the correlations.
You're tuned in to Gambling with Good JuJu.
Welcome in, everybody, to Gambling with Good JuJu, the show with more Python in our heads than in our pants. Hey, before we kick things off, do us a favor and click that subscribe button on YouTube. Then open your favorite podcast app and give us a follow. Listening instead of watching, then do those two things in reverse order. Either way, make sure you are letting your favorite podcast platform and YouTube know that you support the show. Check us out on the socials as well, at Good JuJu Bets. And if you really like us, then head on over to goodjujubets.net, click on the merch shop, and show your support. We got Parlay Pete shirts in the shop now. They are super fly when worn with your Gambling with Good JuJu hat. What a combo. Pick them up both now before Juice removes them from the shop without telling me.
Yeah.
That is something you like to do.
Yeah. Well, they expire.
Well, I don't know how it works. That's why you do all of it. All right. On this week's episode, we brought back on friend of the show, Elihu Feustel, to share with him the progress we've made taking his book, Beyond the Odds, and turning it into a viable model. If you haven't yet, folks, go get yourself a copy of his book and see if you can get to the point we're at faster than us. It's been like 8 months, so it shouldn't be too hard to beat us.
Hey, it took me about 3 years to build the model, build the algorithm once I knew what I wanted to do.
All right.
You didn't have the same cheat sheet we had, Elihu.
Yeah.
So before we welcome in Elihu, I'd like to run through what we've been up to and the steps it's taken to get us here. This all began late last September when we interviewed Elihu and came away from the conversation a mixture of, I'd say, intrigued and motivated, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe some of us, maybe others of us were a little more skeptical. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe just a little bit. But we got the book. That was the very first step we did. We had never developed a model of our own, so this felt like a challenge we weren't even sure if we could tackle. But we do know people, right? So including one very smart programmer in our lives, show superfan Uncle Justin. We knew we needed someone with coding chops on our team, so we started by asking him if he would consider reading Elihu's book after we read it, and if it piqued his curiosity, would he be willing to consider sitting down with us to discuss potentially taking this on as a team, right?
Yeah.
So that was, we interview him in September, we read the book between like October and November. We ended up sitting down in like early December to discuss and decide if we had it in us to give us a go. Now, during that meeting, we reviewed notes on the book. We made sure we all understood what the project was. We reviewed Elihu's college basketball answer key example. Overall, we all came out of it, I think, pretty positively, right? We all kind of felt a little energy. We all felt like, yeah, we can probably do this. Maybe we weren't certain, but we felt pretty good.
Yeah, for sure.
But we determined there were two paths that we really needed to go down.
Okay.
One was actually building the tool to operate in. And the other was tracking down the data and getting our hands on all the necessary data in order to run it. On the one hand, I thought getting the data was going to be the slacker side of things. And it probably still is the slacker side of things. But the truth is it turned into a far bigger challenge for us than we had ever imagined. Just the fact that we need to get one file pulling in different historical data sources from places that we may or may not be able to find for free was a little bit of a complication. And it seemed early on really easy because we go online, we immediately find a link to a page posting all the details in one file that we were able to download and get for like 2013 through 2022 for college basketball.
Yep.
And so we give that to Justin initially and go, well, here's data for you to begin to put into this as you build this tool out.
Right.
But we knew we'd have to get more updated data. Eventually in the process, we moved from college basketball to college football. We knew we'd need it for college football. And boy, did we start to hit kind of a head when we started doing that.
Sure.
Because then it became a matter of, we can't just take it from someone online because we can't find it anywhere online. And so we're going to have to be created by us. Now, for those who haven't done this before, let me tell you, compiling data is no piece of cake. We had already, failed trying to find the data for free. The question were we going to pay someone to do this for us, or were we going to do this ourselves?
Right.
But, I decided it was time for us to get in the game and pull it ourselves. I was going to have to learn to build my own data pipeline, which we have done. It took about 2 months. I learned how to build a data pipeline that would obtain, process, store, publish data needed for the model. I learned how to tie one API into another in order to combine box scores with betting lines. I know how to add other attributes now, should we decide to take this model to the next level in the future. It took me months, but I'm proud to say I got there. Thank you. Thank you. Now, thank you. Thank you. On the other side of things, show superfan Uncle Justin was doing far more work.
Yeah, the real work.
Far more efficiently to get the actual answer key developed. In broad strokes here, starting with Python, Justin has written a code to run answer key as best we know how per Elihu's criteria. There were really 5 steps to this, which I will do my best to lay out without sounding dumb, and I apologize, audience, if this sounds like I'm reading way too much, but this is pretty much Justin's words. We've had lots of conversations.
Right. Yeah, right.
So I got a pretty good idea now. So here's how it went. His first step was taking our initial data, which at this point was just that reformatted public file, and taking that file and developing code to read it and basically just create a common representation of game data for the application to use, regardless of source and format. Creating something that can pull in the data, Juice and I hunt down, and reformatting it to be usable within the application. From there, the next step was implementing the distance factor, which Elihu, we're going to talk through in some more detail as we go along here, but to determine how similar 2 games are based on the spread and total. Basically, in this step, Justin is working to create a factor to determine a hierarchy of fit between games we want to analyze in the data set of historical games. So if you want to create a sample of games based on a spread of 3.5 with a total of 50, is a game with a spread of 4 and a total of 46 better or worse than a game with a spread of 2.5 and a total of 52?
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
The distance calculation kind of works on all this to put these into the correct hierarchy. So that was his second step. Step 3 was applying that calculation to the full list of games to sort them based on how close they are to the desired lines of interest in us, the parent lines. Once we have the distance calculation implemented, it needs to run against our database and create a rank of games to then constitute our answer key sample.
Okay.
Does that sound clear?
I think so.
Okay. See, I have the technical words of Justin followed by my attempt to translate it for the audience in each of these. So folks, try to stay with us as we go along. All right. So step 3 was actually pretty straightforward. That was like the most straightforward step until you reach step 4 and realize you now have to improve upon that sample you just created. So in step 4, he created logic to improve the sample to most closely match both the spread and total to the parent lines, as well as the over-under rates for each of them to get them to 50%. So this is where the code goes in and says, if we pull the 500 most similar games to the spread and total, it isn't actually going to give me a mean, median, spread, and total that matches our parent lines. We might have 400 games with a total of 53 and 100 games of a total of 49. If the target total is 51, this would skew our sample to the over. So the logic created in this step replaces games in our samples with other games that will help bring our sample in alignment with our desired spreads and totals. Okay, I think that makes sense. And then in our last step, I promise we're getting here, folks, step 5, the last step before today, Justin was writing the code to provide results for mean and median first half spreads and totals based on the sample. So we have our best fitting sample. What does that tell us about what the first half spread and total should be
Right.
for a college football game? During the process, we did pivot from college basketball to college football. And here we are today thinking we're smart enough to present our work and ask our questions. We have a model. That's our first announcement. So congratulations to us. There is a model, Elihu. There is. I can input metrics and get a result out of that. We're proud to admit that.
This is great.
Our second announcement is we have no idea if the model's any good. So that's our second announcement. We have no idea if it's any good. And our third announcement is we have a lot of questions. So welcome to the show, author of the book, Beyond the Odds, and a man I now refer to as Teach, Elihu D. Feustel. Elihu, did my opening there make sense to you? Did I say it all correctly?
Oh boy.
Yes, you. I should hire you to write it for me next time because it was very clear.
Okay.
Now, the only minor thing in step 5, you said you're looking at the mean and median first half results.
Yes.
You don't care about the means. If you're betting, you only care about the medians.
Well, cross off one of our questions for today.
Let's dive right in.
So right now the output's giving us both the mean and the median. And I think we assumed it was the median, but we do have it outputted so we can see how close to the mean and median our results are coming for the full game, and then it gives us for the first half.
So you get your full game mean and median pretty close to 50-50.
Yeah.
When you're looking at what you're going to bet on the first half, a lot of times the betting number, the index, is not the same as your median. So, for example, say you had a college football game 7-50, and your first half median total, you thought the first half spread should be 4 flat, but the number you can bet at DraftKings is 4.5. You could use that same sample to price the plus or minus 4.5, even though it's not the median, by counting in your sample how many times it covered 4.5 or didn't. So you can use that to price any index once you have the sample.
Oh,
Okay.
Now that is information to be shared with Justin.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope he listens.
So what I normally do is say I've read a game, and then I'm going to import the prices from 20 different sports books.
Uh-huh.
And so DraftKings may have 4.5, Bookmaker may have 4, Caesars may have 3.5, Hard Rock might have 2 at plus 180 or some weird number. You can price every single one of those, price your edge based on look at your edge for each wager based on their price versus your probabilities, and just print up a list of stuff that you should bet automatically without thinking. You get a list of bets, what the edge is, and where to bet them.
We're not converting our numbers into probabilities. Is that a step we should be engaging in throughout the process?
So ultimately, you want to say, what is my EV on every bet? So your 500 samples gives you a possible distribution. So then you have to read the market price, look at your distribution, assume your distribution is correct. What advantage do you have against that? And most of the time, you're not going to have an advantage. Both sides will be negative advantage, so you pass. The big question is, at what edge do you actually place a bet?
Mm-hmm.
So typically, I'm looking for if I have a 6% theoretical edge, I'm probably going to hold 3%. If I have a 10% theoretical edge, I'm probably going to hold 7%. So generally, I'm looking, depending on the market, like college football is by far the strongest. And if I think I have a 6% edge, just let me buy as much as I can of it.
Wow.
Even if it's only going to be a 3% edge. Right. An example of this would be, let's say we're pricing a favorite, a 7-point favorite, and the dog is plus 4.5 for the first half. Now, we thought 4 was the median price, and say 4 had 250, say 4 had 230 that covered, 230 that failed to cover, and 40 pushes. When we take that to plus 4.5, now we have 270 covers, and we have 230 fails to cover. So 27 to 23, you have a 54% win rate.
Okay.
So if you think you're going to win this bet 54%, then you look at the price that DraftKings has. So if DraftKings has it at minus 110, your break even is 52.4, your theoretical win is 54, you think you have about a 3% edge, you pass.
Okay.
But if DraftKings had that plus 4.5 at even money, now your 54% theoretical win rate, break even is 50%, your theoretical edge is about 8%, and that's a play. So every one you want to figure out what your theoretical edge is and know what your cutoff is to actually bet.
Got it. And we use the actual sample set to determine the probability.
Yes.
That's an unlock for us.
That is halfway through our questions for you. We just got it answered before we even got into it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's one of the areas where we've actually kind of struggled is we've been able to put together the model, right? And we've been able to get it to do an output. We're not sure how reliable it is at this point, but beyond that, like, we weren't even sure what the go, no-go point of demarcation is, you know?
It depends on the sport. So college football is by far the strongest. I don't even, for NBA, I only use it. For most other sports, I use 8%. And
Okay.
NBA, I'm only doing money lines, like first half and game lines.
Okay.
The NFL first quarters and team totals are pretty strong. But college football, you can just basically bet everything.
And this is from your historical analysis of using this type of method, right? That you
From me actually betting this,
Yeah.
I had a first iteration back in 2020. Then I automated the process to where, we call the process Guildbound or Money Tree, where we automated answer key combined with everything coming in. So just print up a list of plays to bet with their EVs. And what we originally did is we'd round robin those in giant parlays. So a sports book would see a 20-team round robin come in by threes, and they just laugh at us. It's amazing how many agents how many books I work with that still laugh at me when they see my bets come in, but they don't necessarily know it's me.
Wow. And why do you do it this way versus betting them straight?
To look like a moron.
Just for the disguise the account?
Yeah, and there's some other things you can do that are really wonky also.
Okay.
When you're looking at, so if you have answer key, you can also price other things. So you can, if you know that you're looking at your game of 7 and 50, and there is an alternate first half total of 29.5. You can price that. And it may turn out that the under 29.5 price is minus 130, and maybe the fair is minus 150.
Okay.
Or maybe you're going to do an alternate total of 33.5 where the fair is should be under 280 and it's minus 200. So you find a bunch of these edges, and anytime you can parlay big favorites, if you're getting equity, it's better to parlay them because you look like a chump.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think we need to get a few wins under our belts before we
worry
start
about
worrying
now,
about the parlaying, though.
If your bankroll is smaller to where you can bet as much as you want on straights, so let's say you're working with a bankroll of 20,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
And say your unit size, I'm going to say never, until you really have your stuff together, never risk more than 1% of your bank.
Okay.
So your unit size will be 200. So if you can bet 200 on every straight bet you want to make, do that. When your bankroll gets to be $500,000 or $1 million, you're going to look for parlays a lot more.
That
Right,
makes
something-
sense. All right.
got that done.
Notice he didn't say if, he said when.
When, right? Yeah,
our
exactly.
bankroll
Yeah.
Gets to that point. I absolutely love that. Just so that the audience is aware, we are already just throwing the agenda flow out the window. We are already deep in it. And so I have other questions as it relates to that.
Yeah.
One of the things that we were surprised by was you had recommended college football over college basketball. One of the benefits we thought to college basketball was just the glut of games, the quantity of games to be able to both run the sample against a lot more games and also a lot more options for games to attack. College football's a little smaller in that regard. What is it about college football that makes it better than in that regard? And also, how many games on a Sunday when you have only like 56 games total are you realistically finding edges in with this process?
So the first question is, if I have a 50-game college card, I'll probably have about 150 plays. So I'm looking at first quarter plays, first half plays, spreads, totals, money lines. I'm looking at team totals. If I can bet on which team will score first, or who will score 3 times in a row, or if you have the database, you can price all these with answer key also. So
Okay.
a lot. The other question is, why do I think college football is better than college basketball? And there are 2 reasons. One, there's a lot more manipulation in college basketball than college football. It's very common to see totals move up 5 points, come back down 4 points. So when it's moving all the place, if you're using answer key to, for example, bet a first half total, and the line is moving for manipulation, consider a game where the total is 140. and the total moves, someone presses it to 145. But that first half total, it was 66, and it should be probably 68 and a half if the total goes up that much. You see that they haven't moved the 66, and the line is manipulated. You hit that over 66, thinking, it should be 68 and a half, but it just hasn't moved yet. And then when it comes back down, you're stuck with all these overbets that have no equity. So if you are going to bet college basketball, you have to know when the manipulation is occurring, or if you have a separate handicapper, you can spot it. You can spot the manipulation as it's happening, and then wait to peek it later. So if you have a handicapper, this game is being manipulated. It goes from 140 to 145. Now I'll bet the under, and then the fair number will come down, and you'll get under 68 and a half instead of under 66.
Aha.
Okay. Our thought process has been we want to wait until as close to close as possible to get those parent lines as efficient as possible, because there's nothing in our system here that's going to tell us whether or not early action is sharp or not to begin with.
So with college football, you'll want to bet as soon as you can. So there's two things that affect the price. One, as the parent lines become more efficient, your projections are going to become more efficient. But also, as the week progresses and people bet it, the derivatives will become more efficient. And I found that if I have a 4% edge on game day, I'm going to have probably in college football, that edge will go up 2% a day. So if I'm able to bet on Tuesday, I might be betting with a 12% edge. 10% Wednesday, 8% Thursday, 6% Friday, 4% on game day. So the earlier you can bet these, the better. If you're able to bet them into DraftKings or Hard Rock or any Kambi book, that you're going to do much better than if you're betting into a semi-sharp book or even a sharp book,
like Circa or Pinnacle.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. You can say I can still beat Circa and Pinnacle, but I'm working a lot harder.
Yeah.
Whereas if you bet into DraftKings on Tuesday morning, you just take their money till they cut you down. It's stupid.
My only concern here is that we don't know on Tuesday, if I'm betting a game based on the model saying, -7.5 spread over 50, and we're getting a quality first half number on the over as a result, well, come game day, what's that spread in total even going to look like at close?
Yeah. And you're right. That does change. And you're going to lose a little bit of value from the fluctuation of that spread in total, but you're more than paid for that with the bad early opener.
Okay. So we are taking advantage of the inefficient market price.
Yeah, that parent price is inefficient, but not nearly as inefficient as a sportsbook trying to put up early derivatives without a good chart.
Oh, okay.
So if you look at, for example, look at college first half totals, and if you have a game of games in the 55 range, you're going to see that the DraftKings opener might be 2 or 3 points different from the sharp opener for the same total, same spread and total combination.
Got it.
So they tend to move towards 55% when 28 is a critical number for first halves.
Okay.
So if you have a lot more games are going to be totaled around 28 or 30 than you would the half the score number, half the total number.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, let's take a step back here real quick. For the audience's sake, we've been talking with Elihu about building our own answer key tool. I walked through the steps of what we were doing in the nuts and weeds. Elihu, can you just provide a quick overview for the audience? What is answer key so that they're a little more familiar as we continue with this conversation?
Answer key uses the assumption of efficient markets to look at the full game spread and total to price any market that has smaller limits. So if I know the full spread and full total in most sports, I can price a first half total, a full game money line, a first quarter spread, or any prop that I have data for. That's a team and game based prop. It doesn't work for player props, but anything you can describe in terms of a team, it'll probably work.
We need to get on the other things. We have all the data, as you mentioned, Elihu, to be able to do team totals, to be able to do quarters versus halves. What about do you get into second halves? Because everything we're doing is just first halves.
So there's 2 ways to bet second halves. Some books will offer a second half line pregame. And if they do that, then yes, you can. The other way to bet the second half is during halftime. And that is that's a different problem. That is an in-game modeling problem. An answer key is useless to bet at the halftime of a game, but if you can bet that second half pregame, that's a derivative you can attack.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And I remember Caesars used to have some mispriced college basketballs, second half totals, and they also allowed some correlations. So I'm gonna let you in a secret that I didn't publish in the book. I was hoping people would figure out, but apparently no one has asked me about it. The strongest value of the answer key isn't betting the derivatives; it's measuring the correlations.
Aha.
Isn't betting the derivatives, it's measuring the correlate. Oh, I get it.
Yeah, cool.
So, for
Okay.
example, if you have an NFL first half spread of 3.5 and a total of 23.5, if they're independently, then betting plus 3.5 and under 23.5 should win about 25% of the time. How often do you think that'll win?
26% of the time?
Probably closer to 30% of the time, and you have about a 10% edge.
Okay.
And
I
you're gonna get
understand this
hundreds
part.
of
Are you
Oh, yeah.
following?
Yeah.
Okay, I do get what's happening here. When
Yeah.
at first I wasn't sure if I would. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and these correlations exist in college football, NFL, college basketball, and I've made a lot more money from the correlations than I ever have from the derivatives.
So does that result in you parlaying like a same game parlay with them, or how does that end up working for you?
Yes, if they don't use the correct same game parlay logic. So FanDuel now prices these pretty well. So if you bet them at FanDuel, you're not going to make any money. If you get them at a paperhead that takes it, you're stealing money from them.
Got it.
Okay.
Because of their same game parlay engine.
Yes. And
Because
that is
their
something-
engine, so a paperhead and some books, they don't have a same game engine. So the correct way to price a same game parlay is to look at an answer key approach. If you play this 500 times, how many times does this actually occur? The way the paperheads and a lot of books do it, instead of doing that, they just say, well, half the time you're going to cover plus 3.5, half the time you're going to cover under 23.5 based on the money lines of that. So we're going to multiply them together and assume there's no correlation.
Yeah.
So anytime they're parlaying two events, assuming there's no correlation, they're going to be ripe for plunder.
Wow. Okay. So that's good to know.
That's helpful. I
yeah.
think that's something Justin can add fairly easily. Like that's just an additional logic.
Yeah, and what you'll do for when you're pricing it, you'll read the prices you're betting. You'll look at the payout odds that they're offering you on the parlay. So if you're most books, if you take two teams at 110, they're going to pay off either plus 260 or 264.
Yeah.
And then you're going to look and calculate the exact fair price and what the EV is, and does that meet your risk threshold. Now, just a quick comment: when you're playing correlated parlays, because they win a lot less than half the time, you reduce your bet size.
Yeah.
If you're betting $200 units, you probably want to bet about $80 on these parlays. And a little bit more for the higher edge ones, less for the smaller ones.
So I think about following along here. First, we got to figure out how to output the probability for these micro derivatives or whatever they might alternate derivatives, right?
Whatever you're pricing, you want to do two things. You want to price what the EV is at the price you see, a number that's typically 6 to 25%. That's the first step.
Okay.
And the second thing you probably want to do, as long as you're automating it, automate your Kelly risk factor. How much you want to bet with your bankroll, with the odds and your perceived edge.
Yeah, neat.
So that way, this way you don't have to think about it. It says the program says to bet 250 on this derivative. The program says to bet 120 on this parlay.
Awesome.
And you use Kelly in your pricing?
So I used to. But now it's mostly just bet what you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it.
But if your bankroll is smaller though, and you have multiple books to bet at, you need to keep track of how much you bet at each book, so you don't end up overbetting.
Yeah, overexposed.
Okay.
So because if you have if 200 is your max, say 2,000 is your max risk you want, and you bet 1,000 at the best price, and then you bet 500 at the next one and 500 at the next one, you're done.
All right, that makes sense. That's something we've been very familiar with.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So
Google Sheets is the way to do that. If you're having multiple people betting, use Google Sheets to track the bets, and you have one row per item, and you can see how much everyone bets in real time.
This guy's already got that down.
All right, good.
He's got his beautiful Google Sheet betting tracker.
Yeah. Okay. What else do you want to ask? I feel like we've uncovered so much. Like, we need to get Justin to hear this.
Our heads are already swimming. Well, let's talk about a few specifics from the book. One of the things that we've played with and that we've debated and that we've kind of felt is an area for us to potentially screw up is the distance formula. Can you explain that to us a little bit, and then maybe we can talk through the specifics of our scenario?
Okay. The goal of the distance formula is to rank your entire data set from the best fit to the worst fit. And the way I've done it is Pythagorean theorem. And for college football, you're fine if you don't actually scale it. So Pythagorean theorem is just a way to measure the hypotenuse of a triangle. So, and it's also a way to measure the probability of baseball teams winning based on how many runs you project. So there's lots of different ways in sports you can use it. But in our example, we're going to look at the one side will be the difference in the spread. The other side will be the difference in the total. And that hypotenuse, so if you have a spread difference of A and a total difference of B, the hypotenuse is going to be the square root of A squared plus B squared.
Okay.
But since all we're doing is sorting, you don't even have to take the square root. You can just take A squared plus B squared, because that won't change the order of the sort. So, for example, let's stay with 7 and 50. All games 7 and 50 are going to be at the very top.
Right.
If there's one where the spread is a half a point different, or the total is a half a point different, that's going to have the x difference is half, the y difference is 0, so your squared difference is a quarter. So it would be, if you have 7 minus 6.5, the difference is a half. So that's that one. If your total was 50 versus 51, that other hypotenuse would be 1. So if you had, in that case, I'm looking at 7 and 50, I'm measuring 6.5 and 51, my distance would be a half squared plus 1 squared, or 1 1/4. So for every game possible, if I'm looking at a game, so 7 and 50, let's look at 17 and 40. Just as another example. Difference in the spreads are 10, that's 100. The difference in the totals is 10, that's another 100. That distance would be 200 compared to 1 1/4 for the other one. So you rank them all from first to last. While you have a database of 20,000 games, you rank them 1 all the way down to 20,000, although you're not going to go much below 600. And then when you start chopping to get the correct means and medians, you start removing from the bottom from 50th, and you start adding from 501.
So in ours, when we initially did it, like we created a formula to determine what's the value of a point move in the total versus what's the value of a point move in the spread. And we were getting it weighted initially and I don't know the formula that Justin used, but we were getting it weighted pretty heavily to the total, meaning that for every point move in the total, the spread should be moving more than a full point. And we were getting to the point where we were seeing, like, in our sample results, spreads that would get 3-4 points away from the mean, and our total was only shifting by like 1 or 2 points away within our sample. And to us, that just felt inherently incorrect.
Yeah, that sounds off.
And so we weren't sure, like, how do we adjust this, or do we just, like, we kind of landed on, we kind of think that they're about equal right now.
Yeah, and I think equal's fine, at least in football and basketball. Okay. Equal does not work in baseball. Baseball, gotcha. You almost have to come up with a different way to do it between totals and money lines. So
yeah, okay, that's helpful.
So where we got from our initial logic to where we are today, it sounds like we took the right track there.
Yeah. If you're weighting them equally, you should have roughly similar variances in spreads and totals.
Okay. So that actually clears up a major problem for us. So folks, now we know the distance formula. We've got that a little bit covered off on more. Another one, you cover push rates a lot in your book. We haven't had a cause to use them in our model. Can you explain to us what they are and whether it's dumb that we're not using push rates right now?
You don't necessarily need to use them in the model, but let's say you like a play. DraftKings has +4.5 even, and Caesars has +4 +110. Okay. Which one do you bet? They're both good. Which one's better?
I'm going to assume Caesars.
Well, this is a push rate problem. There's not a guess. There's a correct answer.
I don't know.
And if you don't know the answer and you're not figuring it out, you're leaving money on the table.
Gotcha. Okay.
I would trust a general push chart more than I would a small sample estimate of the push. So the answer key will give you what it thinks the push rate is or which one is better. But if you know both these plays are good, I'd probably use a good push chart that has a larger sample to say which one is better.
Okay, so that's an external data source for us to reference on historicals.
You're going to create your own push chart with your own data.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're going to take our sample set of data to create.
You're going to use all of your data.
Yeah.
And I talk about a couple different ways I think I talk in a couple different books about different ways to do push charts.
Okay. All right. But it's a static piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not something that we have to calculate every time we get our subset of games. Got it.
Right.
Another thing we've noticed, we've played with our sample a lot. So like we've got it written in so where we can do now pull it with a sample of 100, pull it with a sample of 500, pull it with a sample of 250. Is there any standard recommendation on your behalf with regards to what sample you would be utilizing?
As large as you can where it feels right.
Okay.
So this is, the more data you have, the larger your sample will be. So like if you're using 10 years of, I think you said you're using 10 or 12 years of college football.
We have, our database includes 10 years, excluding 2020. So it's 10 full years. So 11 years if you were to include that, but we didn't include that year.
So you have about 5,000 games. And with 5,000 games, a sample of 500 is fine unless you're on an edge case. When you're at a really large spread or a really low total or something that doesn't have a lot of good samples, you're going to struggle. And that's okay as long as you're willing to reduce your program should automatically reduce your sample if it can't create a large enough sample for the data set you're using.
Okay.
So if you wanted to do a spread of 45 and a total of 60, you're going to have a real hard time getting a median spread of 45. And you may have to cut your sample down to 100 games to make it work.
Okay.
So you automatically do that, but you also make a note that your variance is a lot higher and you're less confident in your results.
Got it.
You're going to see this a lot, especially with first half spread betting against bad teams or in favor of bad teams.
Yep.
You're going to like every team that's plus 14.5 and plus 17.5, you're going to look real closely at because you're going to like them in the first half, for the first half spread.
Now, in our data, 10 years of data, we have almost 9,000 records. Do you clean up do you limit some of the games in your sample?
I only use Division 1. I don't use the FCS.
What if it's FBS versus FCS?
I always get the two mixed up, but whichever one is bigger with the scholarships.
Yeah.
So I don't use the Harvard and the Yale games, the 1AA, but I do use the big schools.
Okay. All right.
Now
All right.
you could try using them, and you can measure your error with each of them and see which one is better. But I just assume that the bigger ones would be better.
Is there any value to weighting? Like we talk about like the distance factor and using some of those other tools to clean up the data. Is there any value to weighting based on time? Like is a game in 2016 as valuable as a game in 2024?
So in my best guess is they're the same, at least in college football. Now in NFL, you need to draw a line at the end of the 2014 season and throw out all those games before then.
Why is that?
Because of the extra point rule change.
Got it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
there's so many changes to college football that have taken place. That's not something that we should be concerned about.
I'll be concerned, but test it and measure it and tell me what you think.
Okay. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. I wasn't concerned. Maybe I should be.
Maybe we're teaching you, Elihu.
I learned from everyone I talked to.
All right. So another area here, and this is a little bit more on topic with what RJ and I have been doing. Tracking down historical betting data has been one of our more substantial challenges coming out of this process. You specifically highlighted a blended line weighted. I'm going to give this out here. Bookmaker 30%, Low Vig 30%, Pinnacle 20, Circa 20 for college football.
Yes.
For reference, the source we pulled from might have Caesar's closing line in 2023, Bet Rivers in 2022, and a consensus line in 2018.
Yeah, don't use Bet Rivers or any Canby line.
Even at close.
It's not real.
Okay.
Back to the drawing board.
So back to the drawing board.
Well, if you have no choice, yes. I mean, you're gonna have to struggle to make. You have to use hodgepodge data sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
and using a Canby line is a little better than not having the data, but not a lot.
Got it.
So If you use, like, Pinnacle wouldn't be my first choice for U.S. sports, but if you use all Pinnacle, you're going to do all right. If you use all Bet Online or Lovig or all Bookmaker, you're going to be fine. But you're going to have some, if you do lots of, now one of the nice things about the answer key is if your spreads are consistently a little too high. Say just pretend that DraftKings or Kambi inflate all their favorites by a point. So what's a plus 7 point favorite everywhere else is plus 8 at DraftKings.
Right.
Answer key will realize that these plus 8, these 8 point favorites are covering as though they're 7, and your median result will be less than what it looks like.
Okay. So we do need historical data to be sourcing from more impactful data sources than we have, which means we're going to have to.
Your outcome will be better if you use sharp closing lines.
All right.
Yeah.
I was hoping that as we got to close, those lines would tighten up to where it wasn't that important, but I understand that I'm wrong.
A lot of people would love to bet into Kambi and DraftKings at close.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. Okay. All right. So home road neutral is a metric we're tracking. Our model filters to the home team's line and then, compares to other home teams with similar spreads. But should we be allowing like a road 7.5 point favorite to be the same as a home 7.5 point favorite?
All right. This is an area of huge debate. My belief is that a 7 point home favorite is different from a 7 point road favorite. Other people disagree. So look at the data, you come to your own conclusion. But the way I bet it is I treat them differently. Well,
let me ask this. Is it, because we don't count it at all then. So like right now, if we're looking at a home team favorite of 7.5, there's no road data in our 500 game sample at all. Yeah. It's only other home teams. Should we be creating a factor then where like a 6.5 or a 5.5 or whatever it is for a road is similar to a home?
I treat them as a distance of 14 apart. So I would not use a road 7 point favorite when I'm doing a 14 point home favorite.
Okay. Well, so we did that one on correct. Yeah. I thought we were for sure wrong on that part. Yeah. Okay. So we're good there.
I think that's my belief, but other people will disagree with me.
Okay. So we've been trying to track down first half lines for a while. We know one place we can go get it.
Why are you tracking down first half lines?
To back test.
Fair. Okay.
So we just want to get a couple of years of lines in there and see how the model would have performed against those.
Right.
We don't need it to actually run the model, but
just check.
Yeah.
Good check. That was good.
Yeah. So we were correct there.
Yeah.
Okay. And as I had already mentioned on the full game lines, we're getting it from a questionable source. We were getting it from a source that primarily provides game data, and we've just been throwing in those lines. Real-time data. We've been trying to web scrape, teach ourselves how to web scrape off of certain websites, and it sure seems like security protocols are pretty high and have proven difficult for me to do that in a meaningfully way. Do you have any advice?
If you can crack Odds Portal, you can get everything you want.
That's the exact website I've been trying to crack, and AI will not give me the
and they work very hard
way of doing it.
It has been cracked.
Okay. Good to know.
So do you have any general advice for us? And maybe this isn't even something that this is, a little too sensitive of data, but like the odds API is one thing that we've paid for and we've tested to get information out of, but like their history is somewhat limited in terms of what they provide. Any advice here?
I pay someone else to get it for me.
Got it.
Okay.
Usually a partner who has a financial interest in whatever I'm betting. Because that encourages them to get it done correctly.
Okay. So that is definitely going to have to come with some sort of cost for us. We've known that, and we've already spent some coin on it, Elihu, and I've screwed up, and I got scared off before talking to you about doing it again, because if you run, your code wrong and you make a few mistakes, you've burned through all your credits, and now you can't without paying more. So we'll get there. We'll get there on that.
Great. We're going to make $1 million. Who cares?
So walk me through your Saturday. You're in a Saturday of football here. Have you already done all your betting? You're done, or are you still playing around? Are you still looking for edges? What's your actual Saturday look like when it comes to getting down action at that point in the week?
I look at the spreadsheet and make sure we have the bets we want.
Okay.
I may help a little bit with correlated parlays, but for the most part, I'm just making sure that we're not over betting and that we're executing the stuff. Other people execute, I oversee.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay.
Okay. So I think that pretty well covers off on our questions. Let me ask this. Do you have any, based on what you've heard from us here today, based on what you can kind of infer on where we're at in the process, do you have any general advice for us as far as our next steps? Right now, we're spitting out a median number that's saying that it's this. I believe my first step is to improve my historical betting line data. And then what would you recommend before the football season kicks off for us to be focusing on?
Pick easy opponents and bet early.
Bet early.
Bet early. Okay, that's a lesson from
Easy.
today.
What do you, can you explain what you mean by pick easy opponents?
Don't try to beat Pinnacle or Bookmaker or Bet Online.
The sports.
Go have every one of your partners have a DraftKings account and some Canby accounts.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm so excited. Should we backtest? Yes or no?
It can't hurt.
Yeah.
But I tell you, when you get to the season, instead of backtesting, let's look at a couple of games and look at the sample you generate versus the sample I generate. We'll see how close they are.
Okay.
That's a very generous offer.
That is a very nice offer.
Yeah.
Will you be at Bet Bash this year?
I will. I'll be there Monday.
Fantastic.
Okay, so here's the way this is going to roll. We're going to produce this episode. We're going to put it out there, and then we're going to tell our third partner, Justin, you better listen to this quickly. And which he will, which he does. And if he has questions or follow-ups from this, it will be all right to bug. It will be okay for us to bug you at Bet Bash?
Yeah, certainly.
Fantastic.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say Justin's got to get on a plane and go with us.
we have tried to get show superfan Uncle Justin to attend with us. He is, if it's just so that you are aware, we are the level 1 bettors who came into the process losing at sports betting, but with a passion for it, working our way up through the ranks. And then he's the guy who has all the mathematical coding programming knowledge, who jumps in at level 3 with no information as far as how betting markets work or any of that. And so we're trying to marry our set of personalities into a cohesive team.
It is really hard to use a programmer who has no gambling expertise.
Yeah, but
your
he's
life
family.
will be easier if he starts betting and losing initially, just so he understands it.
Yeah.
And I think that he's definitely coming into this college football season more interested in betting. Like, he's asking us about how to open accounts now and stuff. He also has fresh accounts, totally unused accounts, Elihu, which has us a little excited.
Virgin accounts.
Yes. We'll
Precious.
Okay. Anything else for us, or anything else you can think about before we let you go here?
No, good luck. And
Awesome.
kick some ass this fall.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Elihu, thank you so much for accommodating us here. Folks, if you want to learn how to originate lines, you too can follow the steps in Elihu's book and get your own answer key up and running. Beyond the Odds is its name. You can find it on Amazon. That's going to do it for us this week, folks. If you're going to Bet Bash next week, please make sure to say hi. We love talking gambling with folks. If not, we'll be back in 2 weeks with our arms full of great content to discuss. Good juju to your bets, and we'll talk again soon.